Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are diving into an essential skill for penetration testers and defenders alike, which is enumerating usernames using Kerbrute and, just as important, detecting those logins on Windows systems. I will walk you through how to use Kerbrute to uncover valid Active Directory accounts and then show you how to spot those logins using tools like wevtutil, PowerShell's Get-WinEvent, and also the GUI event viewer. Now, whether you are breaking in or locking things down, this is a must-know technique. So fire up your lab and let's get started. Let's start by enumerating some users. So in here we have a list of usernames. So if we do it, we can see that we have a list of around 10 usernames. We will see if these usernames exist in our target. So we will use the Kerberos tool for it, and we will be using the userenum option. After specifying a userenum, we will type in the list of usernames, which in our case it is usernames.txt. Then we will type in the domain name, which is, in this case, it is blazerized.htb. Then we will type in the domain name or the IP address of the domain controller. In this case, it's dc1.blazerized.htb. So in here, if we press enter, it will go through all those 10 usernames and it will find a valid one, or if there is one valid or more than one valid usernames. In this case, in here, we can see that it was able to find only one user, administrator. Now, one thing that we can do is if you wanted to go through each username, so if we type in verbose, you can see that in here it is going through each and every single username, and in here it was able to find one, which is administrator at blazerized.htb. Now, what if there were more than one usernames? Let's see that. So I'm logged in to the target that we are enumerating. So let's quickly create some users. So the first user we'll create, let's call it Dave. We will set up password for it and we will add it. Let's add two more users. Let's call this one John, and we will be creating one more user, and this is called Mike. So we have three users here. Now if we go back here and run this command again, in here this time you can see that it was able to find these users as well, Mike, John, Dave, that we created in addition to the administrator, which we were able to find initially. Now that we have found a valid username or a bunch of valid usernames, next we can have a list of passwords that we can try with those users that we found. So in here I have a file called passwords.txt. It contains a bunch of passwords. So we can brute force a user using these passwords. So in here we type in Kerbrute, then brute user, then we type in the domain name, and then this is the domain controller. We can type the IP address or the name of the domain controller, and then we can type in the list, which is passwords.txt. This file contains the list of the passwords. Then we can type in a user that we were able to find. So in here we can type in John, for example. So if we press enter, it will go through the passwords, and it will see if the user John uses any of the passwords in this file. So in here we can see that it was able to find this password for John. But again, we can also use verbose. If we use verbose, it will go through each one and it will show the ones that were invalid, and it will also show you the one that was valid, which in this case is password@123. Now let's look at password spraying users. So this is a bit safer because if you brute force users and the domain or your target has password lockout configured or account lockout configured, then you will lock out those accounts. Now, in one of my previous tutorials, I showed how to enumerate password policies. If you don't know how to do that, you can watch that tutorial. So in here, let's take a look at this. So we type in Kerbrute password spray, then we type in the domain name, which is blazerized again. So in the previous ones, for the domain controller, I typed in the name of the domain controller. So this time we can type in the IP address as well if you want. Then we pass in a list of usernames, and then we pass the password with which we want to spray. So in here we are just using one of the passwords. So if we press enter in here, it will take this password, this one here, and it will try it for each one of the users in the usernames.txt file. Now I know we have some invalid users there that don't exist, but if you have a list of valid users, you can take one password and try it with all those users. This way you won't lock out those you won't lock out those accounts if lockout is configured on the target. So in here we can also type in verbose. So if we do verbose, we can see that this password, it is being tried with each username here: admin, Julia, Jack, and Dave, all those users that I have created. And it found that this Mike account, this password belongs to Mike's account. Kerberos has one more mode, or another mode, that is brute force. So it will take a combination of username and password. So in here, if we check this file, so in here you can see that we have the username and the password. So it is separated, the username and the password is separated by a colon. So this mode, it's called brute force. So again, it takes the domain name. So we type in blazerized.htb. The domain controller, again, we can type the name or the IP address. So in here, type in the IP address, and then the file that contains the combination of username and password that is separated by the colon, and you press enter. So in here you can see that it was able to find one combination, and that was for the user John. However, again, if we type in verbose, in here it will show each and single entry in that file. You can see that the first 5 invalid, and this one for John, this was valid. Now that we know how to use Kerbrute to brute force users and passwords using the Kerberos protocol, now let's look on how to find these events, a successful logon attempt, and the Windows events. So first, let's see how to find these successful logons using the command line tool called wevtutil. So in here you can see that we are using the wevtutil. This is the Windows event utility command line tool. It is used to query, export, archive, and manage event logs and event log settings on Windows. Next, it's QE. The QE, it stands for the query events. It tells wevtutil to pull the events from a log. Next, we have security. Security, it specifies the name of the log. So here we are using security, which means that this log, the security log, records security related events like logons, account management, and auditing. Now next, in here, this is the query string that we see here. So the Q here, it introduces the query. After that, we have the wildcard, which is the asterisk here. So the asterisk, it stands for that search for all the events. Next, we are saying that the system section of the event, it contains the event ID, which is 4768. 4768 is the event ID for Kerberos authentication ticket, or TGT requests. It is commonly seen during user logons. So whenever we have a successful login, it will be logged using this event ID 4768. And then we have the format /f and text. So this tells you how to format the output. Default is XML. So if you type in text, it shows the log and text format. So this is going to be the log. This is going to be a long output. So let's wait for it to finish. Okay, if it takes longer, then I will fast forward it. But you can see that this log, it contains lots and lots of information. Unfortunately, command line, it doesn't give us the option to filter to take the last few ones. But we can do that with PowerShell. We have a lot more control over this log using PowerShell. So in here we can see that this is one log. We can see that in here the information starts here. It shows the log name, which is the security, the event ID 4768. It is task is Kerberos authentication service. In here we can see audit success, and it shows the computer name, which is DC1, and other useful information like the description in here. It says a Kerberos authentication ticket TGT was requested. The account name, it is administrator, and this is the SID set for the administrator account. So in here, if you go up, we might be able to find for other users. In here, this is for another user, SSA 6010. So let's go. Let's see if we find some of the users that we tried. Or the users that we tried, they might be at the top. So in here you can see that John, so one of the users that we tried, we can see that, yeah, when we were able to find the valid user for John, you can see that it logs it here. You can see that it says the account name is a Kerberos authentication ticket. So this is one way to find the TGTs that were issued for successful logons. Now let's look on how to find these event logs using PowerShell. Previously, we saw how to do it using wevtutil. However, PowerShell makes it a lot easier. So in here, PowerShell, you can use the Get-WinEvent commandlet. It allows us to use the Get-WinEvent. This commandlet is used to retrieve event log data from event logs, including classic logs like application, system, security, and also the newer Windows event logs. Now, there is another one called Get-EventLog, but this is more powerful and flexible than the Get-EventLog commandlet. Next, in here, we are passing it a filter hash table. This parameter allows us to filter events using a hash table, which is an easy way to pass multiple filtering conditions without writing a complex XPath query. Now in here, we are passing in two values here. One is the log name. So this looks into the security event log. Next, again, it's the ID. So for the ID 4768, it will only return events where the event ID is 4768. Again, this is, as I mentioned previously, Kerberos authentication ticket. So if we press enter again, this will show a lot of events to present a lot of data. So however, PowerShell allowed us to use another option here. We can say max events, and then we can, let's say, 5. So it will show us 5 events. Now in here, we can see that it shows us 5 events. This is the last one, then this one before it, and this is how it PowerShell displays. So again, what we can do next is we can filter it even more. So we can say format list, or we can do it with format table, and we can say just show me time created, and maybe we also want the message. So if we press enter in here, we can see that it will show us the time created and message. So just this information and this here we are interested in. But again, there's another thing that we can do with it. So instead of format table, we can say format list. So this is like we saw previously with the wevtutil. This shows us a lot more information. So in here we can see that again, this shows us for the user John. So in here you can see that the time, which you saw previously, it shows us the ID and also the message. It shows the account name, John, the real name, and this is the SID or SID security identifier for the John users. So if we go up, it will be the same. It will show us about other users that were able to get the TGT tickets. Now we can even filter this information even more. So we can just access the account names that were able to get these names, the names of the accounts that were successfully able to get the valid TGTs. So we will take a look at that. So now we will look at how to filter the information even more. So we can just get the account name. So in here you can see that I'm iterating over each object, and then in the properties I'm picking the first property, and then I'm creating a new object here, and the object name will be the account name. So if I press enter, in here you can see that it just lists. So I also changed the max events, so now we are seeing 20 events. So it goes over those 20 events, and it will pick the names of the accounts that logged in. So in here we can see that the top 20 events. In here it shows us that these users, they got successful TGT tickets. So these users were able to successfully log in to this domain controller here. So if we go over here one more time in here, and this time let's say we are brute forcing for user Dave. So in here you can see that we were able to get a valid TGT for Dave user. So now if we run it one more time, in here you can see that we are seeing that the Dave user was able to successfully get a valid TGT. So now let's go back here again, and this time we are doing it again. This time we do it for user Mike. So we type in Mike here, and you can see that it was able to get a valid TGT for Mike. So again, if we go here and run it one more time, we should be able to see the user Mike here. So you can see that Mike got valid TGT. Go back, do it quickly for John, and then we come here. You see here, run it again. So in here you can see that we were able to get valid TGTs for John as well. Finally, let's look at how to find these event logs using the graphical user interface on Windows Server. So in here we can type in event viewer and start menu. You open it. Okay, let's expand this. So in here you can see that under the Windows logs you have all these logs: application, security, system. So we want the security log. In here you can see that there are lots of logs. However, we are just interested in the one with the event ID of 4768. So let's right click on the security log and we click on filter current log. So when we click on this, in here you can see that it is currently showing all event IDs. So, however, if we type in 4768, press enter, in here you can see that it will filter for event ID 4768 in here. So let me just scroll up a bit in here. So in here you can see that these are event logs. Now in the general tab, it shows these informations. We can see the account name SSA 6010, and if we come down here, this one, it's just for the administrator. And if we keep coming down here, so in here, yeah, this Dave. So in here we can see that it says a Kerberos authentication ticket TGT was requested. So it was for this user, the real name and the user ID. Again, it shows some other information here: the log name, source, event ID, etc. We can also go to the details tab. It provides a bit more information. So it's kind of like when we check the when we use the Get-WinEvent in PowerShell. So the output is kind of a bit like that. So in here you can see that it shows the set as well. So this is how you can filter for this event ID using the Windows Event Viewer, the graphical user interface. And that's a wrap on today's tutorial. We covered how to enumerate usernames with Kerbrute, and just as importantly, how to detect and monitor those logins using wevtutil, PowerShell's Get-WinEvent, and the Windows Event Viewer. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and also the ring button or the ring bell so you never miss any upload. Got questions or want me to cover more tools like this? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.